Hey friend, it's your host, Dr. Des, and we're back with another episode this week on the Pelvic Floor Core and More show. And I really wanted to just give an episode for everybody because the last couple episodes have been geared a little bit more towards pregnant mamas. And I know that I have a lot of listeners on here that are not pregnant. And so this episode is for you and for anyone else who has just kind of struggled with their healing journey. Maybe they're frustrated. You know, this is a story I hear with patients who maybe they come in, they get some exercises, they go start them, and then things are a little worse, or especially troubleshooting on their own. They start exercises or start Kegels or start doing whatever they think they're supposed to be doing, and things just don't really feel that great. And then they're frustrated because it's like, what the heck? I thought this was supposed to help. And then you just get in your head, you start to spiral. And I'm here to tell you that to some extent, that little flare or awareness of things getting worse is not always a bad thing. So if you've ever started doing the right exercises and then suddenly felt worse or felt frustrated that things aren't feeling right as you get back into movement or things that you're supposed to be doing, or you're in rehab and it's just not feeling great initially, then this episode is for you. Maybe you're more sore than you thought. Maybe your symptoms are flaring a little bit more, right? And you're just getting super discouraged. Like, why is this flaring up? I thought it was supposed to be better. And so I want to break that down a little bit. Let's first start to just understand why this could happen. One of the biggest reasons is that you're just more aware now, right? Like you came to see a physical therapist. They made you start to assess certain things. How does your posture? When is your pain worse? When is it better, right? Like you're starting to become more aware. And many women are just so disconnected. And so once they actually start paying attention, they're noticing their posture more. They're noticing their breath more. They're noticing their tension more, which also means you're going to notice your symptoms more, okay? So sometimes healing starts with awareness before relief. The symptoms might not go away. We're just starting to actually listen and see what story and what information it's trying to give us, which means you might be thinking about it more, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's actually getting worse, okay? So just take a little breather and know it might just be that you're more aware of it now. And that's a good thing because when we get more aware, we can really understand then what your body is trying to say. Did we have pain all day, or was it actually only after our exercise or after we sat for too long, right? Starting to help understand that pain story gives you more confidence and awareness of what triggers you might have, what things cause relief, what capacity you have in your body, because maybe you just think you're always in pain and then you start to notice and you're like, oh, I guess it's not actually all the time, right? So we can actually really get some beautiful awareness and clarity by connecting, but it can also start to maybe make you think of the pain a little bit more often. And just know it doesn't mean things are getting worse. But sometimes, especially if you're like, gosh, I am more sore now. Like, no, it's not just that I'm aware, like it actually feels more sore. It's more tender. Well, we're putting a new load on those muscles, right? Like when you come to a physical therapist, we are trying to adapt those muscles, whether it's stretching them, strengthening them, creating different pressures and tissue loading in different positions. Your core and glutes are finally waking up. So now they might actually be engaging through exercises that they before weren't engaging on. And that doesn't mean that things are bad because we're feeling more soreness. Now, obviously, if it's mild soreness, because if it's like severe pain, right, we've got sharp radiating nerve pain. No, that's not good and that's not normal. But a lot of times as we start moving the systems that didn't used to move, we got to work out some of those kinks. Sometimes that means we're now moving a stiff muscle and that might make it a little sore. But a little soreness is normal, a little fatigue is normal, and feeling awkward as you're getting into movement is normal. But we do want to make sure that it's within that normal range. If you're feeling sharp radiating, stabbing pain during exercise, that's not okay. If you're causing new symptoms, now sometimes that can get cloudy too, right? It's not like, oh, I made it worse, even though we think we did. We're like, wait, I didn't have this hip pain and now I am. It's like, well, guess what? Your hip hasn't moved through these ranges of motion before. So now we're waking up some of that stiffness in the joints, some of that stiffness in the muscles and the fascia and the connective tissue. And that can cause soreness. So as long as it's mild and it's only a day or two and it's getting better and better as you work through your program, then you're on the right track. But sometimes initially things do kind of feel like they're flaring. And sometimes, especially when your body has been guarding for such a long time, change can feel unsafe. So if your nervous system is the thing that's resisting that progress, then you might feel more tension, more stress. Your symptoms might actually feel worse initially. You might have a quicker stress response. And that's just because your nervous system has been in a fight or flight space for so long that now that you go poking and prodding on muscles and going through exercises and stretches and different manual therapy tools that I like to go through with my patients, and that yes, I have a whole program with all of my exercises and tools built inside of Restore, my 12-week on-demand program, which is inside of my free app, Pelvic Floor Core and More. So if you have not downloaded Pelvic Floor Core and More, go download it. It's got a couple free masterclasses there, tracking options, but then inside those masterclasses, you'll see information about my Restore program, and that's where all of my tools exist for those of you that do want to invest in that on-demand program, where you do also get coaching with me still as a direct messaging link. So lots of benefits inside of that, because that's where we're really looking at like nervous system regulation, the manual therapy aspect, the breath work, the strength, the stability, the whole kinetic chain. How is it working together? Because a lot of people and rehab practitioners, unfortunately, aren't addressing the nervous system. They're just getting you back into exercise. Maybe they're massaging your muscles, working on some joint restriction, but they're not talking to you about the level of tension your body is just naturally holding because it hasn't felt safe for so long. And then as we start to move and do things that your nervous system isn't used to, it could create more guarding. It can create more tension, and therefore that can create more pain and symptoms. But if we're aware of that, we work with the nervous system to help it feel calm and safe as we adapt into these new movements, then the nervous system doesn't tend to spike as much. But just know it's not unheard of. If you've been living in a state of stress, going and doing some stretches to get your hip to relax might make your hip a little bit more uncomfortable, because your hip's like, wait, I haven't moved like this in so long, and now you're doing what to me? And it doesn't mean it's not what it needs. It just means we want to be gentle. We want to listen to your body. Not only what does it feel during, but what does it feel after? Is it extra pissed, not just for 24 to 48 hours, right? Is it pissed for a week? Because if so, we definitely overdid it. Like, we do not want to get to the point where we're needing ibuprofen or need to lay down and rest, right? Like, a little soreness is one thing, but if it's feeling really flared or it's like radiating and causing nerve pain and stuff like that, then it might not be the right intensity or even maybe the right program for you, okay? But also, right, we build compensations. If we've had dysfunction, your body had to learn how to work around that. So then as we start to unlayer tight hips, tissue guarding, muscle weakness, we start to unlayer those old compensation patterns, and they can then be exposed again. So sometimes those stronger muscles wake up and those weak links then become very obvious. So especially with like balance issues or mobility limitations or asymmetries, this is where as we start to do manual work or certain exercises to correct mechanics and motor planning and pressure management, sometimes people go, oh, my shoulder started to hurt and I haven't felt that in years, but my hip pain's gone, right? It's like, oh, well, one thing's better, but this feels worse. And in your head, you're thinking it's all worse because now we've got a new spot to deal with, when really it's just your body saying, okay, we dealt with that problem, but that unlayered this other problem that we were using that other problem to solve. So sometimes it's kind of like you're chasing that tightness and restriction and dysfunction throughout the body until you work it all the way out. And this is fun for me. I love watching the puzzle of the body and seeing how it decided to compensate compensate and adjust, because it can be really fun when we start to see, oh, we got rid of the tailbone pain, but now we've got that low back pain that was there a while ago. Oh, we got the low back pain to go away, but now we've got those headaches and migraines that you haven't dealt with for like 10 years. Oh, now we got that to go away, but now your shoulder pain's back, right? Like we can actually unlayer years and decades of injury and strain and still get it to resolve and come out of the body so that it never comes back. We find that root cause. So don't be too worried if you do start to see some of those old compensations, because this is actually useful information. It really helps us see, oh, is your body compensating now, or was that old symptom a compensation layer for this dysfunction? And we can really put those pieces of the puzzle together to make sure we are finding the root cause and not just saying, oh, you're not leaking anymore, you're good to go. Because maybe that tension that the pelvic floor was holding that caused you to leak was stabilizing your pelvis. So now that we got that to go away, now maybe you have really bad tight hips and low back because nothing is stabilizing your pelvis, right? So it all works together, which is why my programs, when you work with me either through one-on-one coaching, virtually or in person, come in for physical therapy, or join me in my Restore program on demand, that we are looking at this whole body approach. We are looking not only internally, we're looking externally. We're not only looking at the pelvic girdle, we're looking above, we're looking below. How is everything working together? So I want you guys to understand, obviously we talked about like how this can be pretty normal, right? It can be part of the process. And sometimes I see leaking get worse before it gets better, especially if things were really tight, right? So again, those compensations, if we had a lot of tension, maybe we had some leaking and some pelvic pain, and we're like, okay, we've got a lot of tightness, so let's not do Kegels and start strengthening right away. Let's open things up. Let's do some manual breath work, maybe some wand work. Let's get into there, stretch things and let them relax. Then sometimes we see the leaking get worse, right? Because that tension was holding a little bit of the pelvic floor. And as we open it up, that strength isn't there. So we see the leaking get worse. But now that pelvic floor is open and relaxed, so we can actually strengthen it. And then as we actually strengthen from a better resting place, we then see that leaking get better and go away and stay away. Whereas had we just worked on strength from the beginning, then that pelvic floor would just get tighter and cause more pain and more dysfunction. And maybe you wouldn't leak as much, but maybe you're also having more pain and other issues when really we needed to truly strengthen and not just clench. So as we open things up, sometimes leaking gets a little worse, but then it should get better as we continue to work together. So that's sometimes what I warn patients, especially if they have a lot of tension and leaking is their problem, just so that way they're not spiraling when they're like, wait, I'm doing all this breath work, but now I'm leaking even more. It's like, well, honestly, that's a good sign, because it means now your pelvic floor is relaxing and opening it up so that it'll be in a better place when we do start strength training. But what is normal versus what is a red flag? So what's more normal is mild soreness. Again, and this could even be delayed, just like strength training. Sometimes we get delayed onset muscle soreness. So I say give it 24 to 48 hours of mild soreness. If it's lasting over 72 hours, if you need a heat pack, if you need to take ibuprofen, to me, that's too much. But also if it's just a temporary flare, right? It flares a little bit, goes away. No big deal. Take it for what it is. It's information. It's data. We're not going to get too hung up on it. And a little fatigue is normal. You're getting into a new level of activity and exercise. You're doing new things to your body. Your body's trying to heal and learn and adjust. And that is a lot. So fatigue to some extent is normal. But ideally, as you continue to work with your providers and through a program, that exercise should start to feel like an energy deposit in your body and not like a debit taking that energy away. So just start to audit that fatigue and energy as you go through the programming. And also if your awareness is increasing and you're just noticing it more, that's normal and it's honestly a good thing. But where we want to start getting concerned and some red flags would be if you have that sharp worsening pain as you're doing the exercises, pain is showing up and it's sharp, stabby, or maybe it's neurological. Maybe you're feeling radiating sharp burning pain, pins and needles going down. If we start to have severe heaviness in a limb, right, that also can indicate some nerve damage. So numbing, tingling, feeling like super heavy in your limbs, and just persistent regression, like things are just getting worse and worse and worse. And that's where we want to reassess and also make sure that you're seeing the right provider and that you don't need to be referred out for other imaging or another plan of care. So if you are seeing some red flags, what I want you to do, and maybe again, you're just worried, like maybe you're sore and you're not sure, is it a red flag or not? So just reduce your intensity initially, stay consistent and see if that changes. Because sometimes we need to see like, well, as I stay consistent, does it go away? Is my body adjusting and adapting to it, right? But otherwise, I want you to focus on your form as you're going through your workouts, because that could be contributing to it. If you're doing new movements you're not used to, make sure you're going back to the very basics of breath, bracing. Am I doing those correctly? Because if not, then yeah, that could be why we're getting some extra irritation in your back or hips. And I always make sure my patients are aware of what I call the body boundaries, because if we're not aware of our body boundaries, this could be where a good exercise could cause problems. So it is more about how your body is showing up for you in those workouts. Go through those body boundaries, check them off. Was your brace engaged? Are you in alignment? Are you breathing well? Is your pelvic floor coordinating, right? Like go back to the basics, but also make sure you're adding in recovery. If your body is showing that it's not tolerating the exercise program you're getting into, or maybe it is a little more sore, it's not terrible, but you're like, yeah, I'm noticing it a little bit more. Then add recovery. Give yourself gentle stretching and breath work after your exercises. Do some gentle soft tissue work, and obviously ask for guidance and get a professional opinion from your provider, or see me, so that we can make sure that this is a normal adaptation and not that we're missing something or that you're doing something wrong. Because sometimes you might be doing the exercise wrong, right? So then yes, we're going to have issues, and it's not exactly the exercise, but how you're doing it. So progression matters, okay? So coaching helps this so much, because we don't always understand the correct progressions or when to progress. Because if you progress too much too soon, that could cause a flare. If you progress too little or not quick enough, you might not see very much change at all and be frustrated with that as well. So proper dosage is crucial, and getting that support to make sure you're feeling confident about what rate you're doing, how much you're doing it, how often you're doing it, what intensity you're doing it, can be the game changer of you feeling these flares and not. And again, inside Restore, I guide women through this exact process so they know what's normal, what needs adjusting, and how to keep progressing. And obviously with my coaching one-on-one patients as well. So feeling something doesn't always mean something is wrong, okay? Sometimes it means your body is adapting, and that's a good thing. You're showing up for yourself. You're here. You're listening. I'm so proud of you. And reach out. Ask me any questions if you're concerned, or let's get you on a coaching call so we can really dive into your story, your program, and see if it is the right program for you and if you're progressing at the appropriate rate that we want. Because it is so frustrating when you're doing the work, you're showing up, you're even paying to get help, and it's just not feeling good, because our goal is for you to feel good. So reach out if you have any questions, but you are on the right track, friend, and I'm so happy to have you here in my corner, and I can't wait to see you here next week on the Pelvic Floor Core and More Show. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you've got so many other important things going on, but I hope it was helpful and you leave here with some tools to help you in your healing journey. And I just want to ask you, if you have found this helpful, to please leave a review on iTunes. Scroll down to the bottom of my podcast page and leave that 5-star review so it can help other women see this information. And also, if you want to be a part of my community of amazing women trying to balance all the things, great tips and insight, and sharing stories and just motivating each other along the way, feel free to join my Facebook group, The Balanced Mentality, Wellness and Support. I hope to see you here next time on the Balanced Mentality Podcast.